Hi, today I'll be talking about E major pentatonic over this progression and how you can just pretty much stick with the same scale and you can choose the correct notes over the chords that are coming by in the progression and just tweaking a couple of the notes, the flatted third of the key and then the flatted seventh of the key to play over some of the chords to create a bluesy sound. So the basic progression here is an E chord, and then F sharp major chord, which is not in the key of E, and then to an A chord, and then to an E chord. Okay, so it just so happens that when I go to that F sharp major chord, the F sharp note and the C sharp note are both in that E major pentatonic. So I'm not bothering with the major third of that F sharp chord. Then for the A chord, I'm doing kind of two devices. I'm bending up to that G note, okay, which happens to be like the flatted seventh of that A, so it kind of gives it bluesy sound. And then I'm also bending that C sharp note up to D, which gives it the four third to sus4. So the A chord, and then right, and those notes happen to be blues, E minor pentatonic that I'm borrowing for this progression. Okay, so some of the devices that I used, so I'm on the E chord, typical bend there, F sharp up to G sharp, and then I'm landing back on that F sharp note because I'm on the second chord is the F sharp. Okay, and then for the other device, I'm landing on that C sharp note for the F sharp, and then doing a bending C sharp up to D for the A chord, and then resolving back to the E. And now I'm doing sort of the same thing here for the E chord, just typical bend, and then by the time it gets to that F sharp note, I'm ending back on the F sharp note. Now you wouldn't have to resolve that because it just so happens all those notes pretty much work over that chord. Yeah, because that F sharp is kind of acting as a secondary dominant. So the F sharp is the root, G sharp is the 9, E is the flatted 7th over that F sharp chord. Then once again for the A chord, I'm bending this note, instead of bending it up to G sharp, I'm just bending it up to the G natural to give it that blues sound. And then for the C sharp, I'm just teasing that up to the D note, and then resolving back to E. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to talk about with this. With this particular tutorial, just taking that basic E major pentatonic, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then doing either a full bend, okay, or half bends on the F sharp to G, or C sharp to D over that A chord, the 4 chord, to just give it that kind of the blues sound. Okay, well, thanks for listening and watching. I'll end off with a improvisation. So at the end of this video, I'll put the jam track that I'm doing here, so you can practice some of these ideas on your own.